Hello and welcome everyone. This is Ayman Ismail from AUC TV. A lot of startups and businesses around the world have been affected by the spread of pandemic COVID-19. We have more questions about the change of entrepreneur scene, mainly in Egypt and around the world. So we have our guest today, Dr. Ayman Ismail. He is the founder and director of AUC Venture Lab, and he is Abdul Latif Jamil, endowed chair of entrepreneurship. Hello and welcome, Professor Ayman.
Hello, Rahab. ازيك? I hope all is well.
Thank you so much. I want to first ask about what are the major challenges that facing now small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs?
Okay, so where do we start? There are 4 levels when we look at those challenges. The very first level is the basic health and safety. When this pandemic started, everybody was concerned with how can I make my workers, my employees safe and guarantee their safety with immediate measures. So that's the level 1, and I think most businesses have figured out what to do by now. Second level is I'm getting into a business continuity. I want to get my business to continue to run. What changes to the operations that I need to do? How do I manage my business when there is a lockdown, when people's movements are limited, when there are curfews, and so on. So that's the level 2, and I think that required some modifications from many businesses to do. The third level, and many businesses are starting to look at right now as we get by the end of the month and then getting to the next month, is about cash. What's my cash flow? How much cash do I have? What do I need to do to conserve cash? What are my sources of funding? How can I continue? How long would the cash that I have keep me running? So that's a critical path for the survival of every single business, small, medium, large. It's actually the most critical challenge at this point in time. The fourth level is rethinking my business model. Is actually my business model, is it something that would survive in this current environment? If we continue like this for 3, 4, 6 months, 12 months, would my business survive? Do I need to fundamentally change my business model? And those are different levels, starting from the very urgent and simple today needs to thinking strategically about where do I play and can I actually continue to play the same way?
Okay, I have a question. A lot of startups and small businesses are working with accelerators, with investors who provide some fund to support them at the beginning. Can we see a possible decrease in the funds available for the entrepreneurs in the next days, maybe in 2020, and it could have another change in 2021 also?
Okay, so funding is very tricky because people invest all the time. However, when there is a sense of crisis, usually everybody would pause. So as long as people feel that we are in the middle of a crisis, most investors are going to pause and rethink their investments. Once there is clarity on which direction we're going to go, I mean, everybody knows right now we're getting into a bad recession, we're getting into a lot of challenges. People will start thinking, what are the areas that I should be investing in that new environment? So if I was investing in food and beverage a month ago, I think that will be less appealing right now. But I might be looking at investing in healthcare, things that have to do with digital communication, any digitalization in general of industries, things that have to do with digital supply chains, fintech, financial technologies. So in the few weeks of the crisis, people are likely to pause and try to re-understand, reassess the current situation. Once that understanding is settled, is setting, and people know what it's going to look like, and I think that's going to happen in the next few weeks, then people are going to shift their investment targets to new areas where they think are opportunities. So if you're a company, you need to figure out, am I in a place that is compatible with the needs of the market, of the country, of the world in the next year or 2? If that's the case, investments are going to come. Maybe wait a little bit until the crisis feeling settles down. If not, then you need to seriously rethink what you're doing and consider either a pivot or even folding. And we'll talk more about that.
But if I am a startup or have a small business and suddenly I found that the fund I supposed to get, and I have a long-term plan, I have a lot of employees working with me, I have other contracts maybe, what can I do if I suddenly found that the fund is not coming or paused for a long time?
So here's the reality. A lot of people are thinking of the current situation as a short-term crisis that's going to end in a matter of weeks. And then after that, we're going to go back to the normal life, whatever that looked like. And then I can resume my life and my business. The reality is, first, this is not short-term. This is going to take a substantial amount of time, and there might be multiple waves, and hopefully until we get to a vaccine, but that might take a year, might take even longer. So this is not a short-term situation. So that's point number one. Second, regardless of when it ends, it's not going to go back to the same situation, because there are some restrictions, healthcare restrictions, that are going to remain with us. Some changes in the consumer mindset that are going to remain with us. Some changes in supply chains with deglobalization that's happening are going to remain with us. So you're not going to come back to, or the reality that used to exist, the context, the environment is not going to come back. So now you need to figure out, what's my situation in that new reality? Well, we don't know the new reality yet, but you can start guessing a little bit of what's going to happen. If that situation is something that is not sustainable, or that I will not be able to have my previous business model, I need to start thinking of, okay, so what am I going to do? I need to either pivot, change my direction, or even consider shutting down. Pivoting or shutting down quickly is a lot healthier and better for the business, everybody, than actually trying to extend the life of whatever you're doing that's not in the right direction, and then face the same situation with a lot more limitations of cash and everything 3 or 6 months down the road. So if your business is not going to exist, pivot or shut it down, adapt or move or fold. Those are the two options that are there. But do not wait for going back, because that's not going to happen. And that applies for every business, micro, small, medium, large, government, startup. It applies for all of us.
Okay, some people say that this could be actually a chance for young entrepreneurs to come up with some innovative ideas that can accommodate with the current situation, that people's life has changed a lot, so they need more things to accommodate with their life. For example, Start Egypt, they launched a competition for innovators to come up with ideas that could help people to stay healthy and communicate remotely and so on, and these fields that needs now. So do you think that this is a real chance for entrepreneurs, or it's a bit not that easy option?
It's both. It's a real chance, but it's not an easy option. The market has changed. There are new needs for customers, for people, for governments, for companies that did not exist a month ago. So if you are able to find some of those needs and to really develop a business that can support them, I think you have an opportunity. It's not easy, because people have to, first they have to mentally understand that and move on from the mindset of I'm going back to there's something new. And second, you have to be in tune of what's happening around you. What do people really need? And go and talk to customers, to companies. There's going to be a lot of anxiety out there, and you have to move beyond the anxiety and really understand what is needed at this point. Businesses, successful large companies, are usually created in times of crises. Every crisis or recession, coming out of it, you get the players, the big players of the next generation or of the next decade, but we don't know who they are. And it's very hard to figure out that. So yes, think about it, think about the opportunities, look around and try to figure out what does the market need and try to react to it. But you have to be very flexible, able to react in a very quick way, adapt to the changes. This is not, let me design a product, go to market with, as if it's a normal, stable situation. This is not a stable situation. So you've got to figure out how to adapt and create something innovative for that, and how to react to all the changes on a daily basis. People who are adaptive are the most likely to survive in this kind of environment.
Okay, I have another question. AUC Venture Lab, of course, offers a lot of programs to support young entrepreneurs, whether they are AUCians, students, graduates, or not from the AUC community. Can you give us a brief about the services offered by AUC Venture Lab, and actually how you adapt to the changes happening now? And did any changes occurred in the programs you offered, in the way you give support to these young entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. So AUC Venture Lab is a startup accelerator. We help companies, startups that are usually based on innovative technologies, products, and services to go to market. So we work with them at the early stage or early growth stage. We've been doing that for the past 8 years. We've perfected that. We have almost 200 companies that have been accelerated or being accelerated right now. And they're amazing entrepreneurs that are changing many of the new products that we're seeing in the market today. So what did we do? The first thing that we did, and that we started planning for this even before we had closures, because we started seeing what's going to happen, we moved all of our activities for the acceleration cycle online. So now every single thing, the mentorship, the trainings, the piloting is happening online. And we're working with our entrepreneurs to try and figure out how can they adapt their businesses to the current environment and the new reality. So that's point number one. Second thing, we started actually launching many online activities that we felt that the community needs, the ecosystem needs. People were sitting there. There was a lot of anxiety, confusion. The best thing to do is to try and activate the energy, the positive energy, the creativity, the resilience of the entrepreneurial community. So we started pushing a lot of activities, competitions, talks, and so on, just to get people engaged and just getting them to do something. And I think everybody were among the first, actually, if not the first, to offer an online webinar. And now everybody's doing them, and we're very happy to see that energy. Third thing is we're actually starting a number of new programs that are responding to the current reality. In partnership with many of our partners, we're trying to figure out how do I actually use the entrepreneurial talent and passion that's out there to respond to the questions, that new challenges that we have. So today, we're actually launching a fintech ideathon and hackathon to try and figure out how to get people to use digital money, mobile payments, and digital payments in general, so we can reduce the cash. This is something that the government, the central bank, and a ton of people are trying to do, and we have the infrastructure. All what we need is to get people to adopt the technology. And that's something we're working on. And we're also planning for a couple of new programs that we're going to launch in the next period that are doing the same kind of effect and with the same kind of mindset.
Okay, what are, as long as you're dealing with a lot of people inside the market and they are facing this problem with their businesses, so what are the major complaints you receive from entrepreneurs, especially in Egypt, whether have ideas and want to implement or actually have current working businesses or startups?
So for both of them, the first thing was a shock of what is going on. Can I still launch my business? How long is this thing? And I think that initial shock was created a lot of confusion and anxiety. I think we're passing that stage. So now the reality is starting to set, and everybody's starting to try to understand the consequences, the new reality, and to plan accordingly. So that's the time when you're going to see people who are resilient. You're going to see people who are innovative and creative, and you're going to see people who are basically they're going to fall. There are going to be a lot of companies, small, big, large, that are going to fall in the next few months. So my advice for everybody is you need to pause and assess. Part of that pause and assess is if I am in a very early stage of a business, I don't have many employees, and I just started on my idea, and that idea is not compatible, I need to stop. Okay, I need to fold and rethink. If I want to continue with a startup, then let me think what's new and what's relevant to that time, but I should not continue. If I have a lot of employees and responsibilities, then I need to figure out how do I carry that responsibility? Can I pivot, change the direction of my business? Can I conserve cash? What can I do? But you need to have a very pragmatic perspective on that. You're not going to have a lot of cash for too long, and you have to figure out what is the best use for that cash that will help me preserve or reinvent that business in a new way. But everybody needs to think about that. And I'm hearing a lot of people that are getting to the point of they're getting to that realization and starting to think about, so what am I going to do next? And it's good to do it early, and it's good to be very sharp in your actions. This is not the time for actually waiting, burning through cash, and then responding at a later point. It might seem like a little bit brutal, but that's the realistic advice. That's the honest advice that I would give to every single entrepreneur or business owner at this point in time.
Thank you so much, Professor Ayman, for all this information. I'm so happy for having you, our guest for AUCTV. If you need to add anything at the end, if you need to say any extra advice for whether entrepreneurs or those who want to have any innovative idea and want to do it now to help people accommodate with the new situation. So a last word.
Yes. Think in two dimensions, short term or medium term. There's no short term. Medium term, that's 6 to 12 months, and after that. Okay, in the 6 to 12 months, you need to think about resilience and adjusting, adapting. If you cannot do that, then you need to think about how do I actually get out of it in an orderly way. Beyond that, you need to think about disruption. This is the time where a lot of disruptive new innovations are going to come. And you're going to start them today. The people who are going to start them are going to start them today in the middle of that crisis. So if you think there's an opportunity for something that you can do that is useful for people and companies and governments and their livelihood and their health, then that is the time to start. So start thinking about potential disruptive innovations that might be useful in specific sectors that have a ton of needs right now. So at the end of the day, this is a time where we need to do a lot of thinking, a lot of reflection on what we're doing and where do we want to be. And I think that applies to companies and entrepreneurs, but it also applies to us as individuals, where we need to have that mindset and pause and reassess. Thank you so much, Rahab. This is wonderful, and best of luck for all the entrepreneurs who are doing an amazing job out there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayman. Thank you for everyone who watched this interview. We wish you all the best in your businesses and your startups. And please try to help yourself and help all the community with your innovative ideas and great efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rahab.